Tell us about Night Travel, which was released simultaneously with the album.
A very elegiac song almost without a beat. And with the wonderful lyrics and the voice of Tom Smith, the singer of the Editors. I have to say that I was a bit afraid when I fired his voice through the effect units and completely distorted how he would feel about it. But luckily he reacted very positively to it.
What does the track mean to you?
For me, it's the end of the journey that Nobody's Not Loved represents. It was always clear that this would be the last track of the album, and it has a beautiful message. I'm not your savior, but I'm by your side. That went straight to my core.
It was very apparent now, in the times of Corona, how much people miss meeting in person when it is not allowed, when they are isolated.
It was so sad, yeah, that's true. You could see how big the desire for this fusion is within us humans. And that's why music is key for me. And as already mentioned, this moment in particular where you experience music together with other people has something spiritual, something transcendent. You become one with the crowd, with the music, and one great entity emerged that is more than just the sum of its parts. But one thing has struck me more and more in recent years.
Which is?
That we all find increasingly difficult to actually be in the moment without thinking about social media. How often have I seen people on the dance floor who can't stop filming, writing and distracting themselves with things that have nothing to do with the party? I mean, I understand that people want to capture moments, but often at the cost of losing the actual moment. When I say music loves everyone, then we need the momentum to unite and awaken people under the wings of music. And of course, it doesn't matter if it's my music or a colleague's or classical concert or rock concert. But it's hard to achieve this momentum when you're just listening to music on the side. Music, in my experience, reaches its highest state in these sacred spaces to be enjoyed to the fullest extent. And when people and music come together in these spaces, there should be no distractions.
Is this also what you wanted to express in the music video for Home?
That's true. It was about people's longing for such spaces while they are closed. Of course, many people rightfully associate this with Corona last summer, but actually I was thinking more about the music that is longing for the people, because music needs people just as much as people needs music. In Tuk Tuk, the music was already the invisible protagonist of the video. In Home, it was the same, because the whole story I wanted to tell with this album has always been about music. Music is the absolute heroine in my story. So a topic which I have been observing for years and which endangers the connection between people and music even more, which is much more important to me than Corona. The progressing digitalization, the social dilemma, was then a documentary on Netflix from last year that extremely confirmed me in my fundamental thoughts.
What exactly do you mean?
I'm talking about something that goes by the name of digital isolation. This apparently self-chosen isolation where you always hear the same thing and an algorithm tells you at some point what you'd like to hear. You narrow down your diversity, you become numb because you're no longer inspired. Or are you under the impression that your Discover Weekly completely represents you in all your facets, in all your interests? You see, neither do I. The musician David Byrne once called it an intellectual undercutting battle. Rather, I have the feeling that we all move in our own digital echo chambers which we have created ourselves. And I know that as a DJ. When you've been playing more or less the same sound for some time and then suddenly you come up with a completely different track and totally break and bam, everything explodes, everything transcends. What a relief that can be. I deeply hope and pray that no algorithm in the world will ever suggest such breaks to us. The desire for such experiences is what drives me.
Is this a plea for more diversity in music?
Above all, a plea against the limitations that we build for ourselves. Because I think music is too big and too important for that. We need diversity and we need community. That's what has always made us human. Because we've been doing this since the beginning of time, gathering and dancing to the rhythm of the drums and have a little drink while we are at it. So in terms of human history, I'm just talking about something that has always existed. That's why I put music on a divine level. We humans need a community in music, and that's why it's bad if you can't have that. Corona will pass and people will go back to clubs or festivals. But this digital isolation, this dementia that you experience when you are no longer among people and instead only by yourself in your own algorithm, which is dictated by a few designers in Silicon Valley, that's what I find very and really dangerous. Because even though we are all physically together again, we can still be alone. 6 years ago, Zombie was the youth word of the year in Germany. It's a mixture of smartphone and zombie. And it's precisely the development towards such smartphone zombies that I am observing more and more in me, in you, in everyone actually. And that's what I wanted to talk about when I say music loves everybody. Nobody is not loved. That's why I wanted to tell through the 5 music videos for the singles that accompany this album as a whole.
What exactly did you want to tell with the 5 music videos?
Quite simply, Home spoke of people's desire for community in music. Kreatur der Nacht spoke of people's rebellion and departure towards it. Tuk Tuk talks about the awakening that music can accomplish when people come together again. And Ocean about the merging of the soul in the eternal stream of music. Night Travel as the last single and last video now tells about the end of the story, the end of the journey. And the end is actually the beginning, because with this story everything started for me in my mind. A retelling of the old Greek legend of Narcissus and Echo by the German author Klaus Brink.
What is it about?
As I said, it's a retelling of an old legend where the beautiful young Narcissus rejects all women who wants to be with him and is finally cursed to fall in love with his own reflection. Such a love can obviously never find fulfillment, and so day after day he gazes at his own reflection in the water and finally dies lonely and in despair. I don't think it's a particularly difficult to make the connection to Instagram, etc. here. Just as unfulfilled is his love for the nymph Echo, who was cursed with a kind of speech impediment. She can only repeat the last words that someone else addresses to her. She can't speak herself, she can only repeat. That fascinates me because here the theme of the echo chamber is told. The eternal repetition of what we show, of what we say, of how we move. So we're not only watching our mirrored selves, but we're also only hearing what we're already hearing anyway, and that makes for such a self-centered narrowing that it really worries me. So Narcissus and Echo in today's age means we only see ourselves and we only hear our echo. In my eyes, that is not a good path.
Is it still possible to stop this development?
No. There are things in life that you simply can't stop. You can only make yourself aware of it, and that's what I try to do with the story of the album. It's what I want to tell with the music and also show with the music videos. You can't stop it, but you can immunize yourself against it, because that's what I'm talking about all the time. Music is a vaccine.
So what can you do?
Listen to a lot of music. Go out a lot, go with the flow, and do not let your mobile phone control you. Then you will have done a lot not to become lonely and lose yourself as a person one day.
Doesn't that sound a bit grim?
Not really. I have learned something important through my faith, namely, do not be afraid. And to understand that, you don't even have to be a believer. Because what does every person who walks alone through a dark forest, being afraid, do intuitively? They start whistling or singing and immediately start feeling less alone, less afraid. The dark forest suddenly becomes brighter. Ultimately, this is the essence of all my thoughts. As long as the music plays, you don't have to be afraid.
And you? Are you not afraid?
Of course I am. I am the one who fears the most. And maybe that's the reason why I became a DJ.